bringing together voices in child and youth healthcare. This is CAFC Presents.
CAFC would like to thank the following member organizations for their generous support of our knowledge translation activities: the IWK Health Centre, the Children's Health Foundation of London, the McMaster Children's Hospital Foundation, the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario Research Institute, the Children's Hospital Foundation of Manitoba, the Montreal Children's Hospital Foundation, and the Holland Bloorview Children's Rehabilitation Hospital Foundation. We would also like to thank the following Keystone partners for their ongoing contributions that support all of CAFC's programs and activities.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of CAFC Presents. My name is Doug Maynard, and I'm the Associate Director at CAFC, the Canadian Association of Pediatric Health Centers. And today's webinar is titled, It Doesn't Have to, or hashtag, It Doesn't Have to Hurt, Creating a Science Media Partnership. And I'm sure the It Doesn't Have to Hurt hashtag is familiar to everyone, so I'm sure you're excited about today's excellent presentation. All right, so it's my pleasure again to welcome back Dr. Christine Chambers. You may recall Dr. Chambers joined us back in November along with Dr. Michelle Dyson to talk about social media and child health successes and challenges, and we looked at a couple of research projects that were evaluating the use of social media in different contexts related to children's health care, getting evidence to practitioners, to patients and families and other audiences, and different types of information and how social media could be used. We heard some really interesting data of what the research is telling us about that. And today, as I mentioned, we're going to be hearing about a project that has been a huge success, the hashtag It Doesn't Have to Hurt initiative. I'm sure it is familiar to many of you, having seen it on Twitter and Facebook and all over the internet, and heard about it in various from various partners and other personalities on the web. So it's a great opportunity for us to promote, to provide more promotion for that great project that it's our pleasure to be partners with Dr. Chambers and her team in as well. So it's my pleasure to introduce today's panel. As I said, we're welcoming back Dr. Christine Chambers, who is the Canada Research Chair in Children's Pain and is a professor in the departments of Pediatrics and Psychology and Neuroscience, with cross appointments in anesthesia, pain management, and perioperative medicine and psychiatry at Dalhousie University. And Christine comes to us from Halifax, Nova Scotia. And Dr. Chambers' research lab is based at the Centre for Pediatric Pain Research at the IWK Health Centre in Halifax. And joining Christine is Erica M., who is one of Canada's most recognized personalities. Yes, it is that Erica M., having started her career in the mid-'80s as the voice of, she says, her generation in her bio, but it's I will say our generation. I grew up as a huge fan watching her on MuchMusic back in the mid-'80s and '90s. But Erica is now the creator and publisher of the YummyMummyClub.ca, which is Canada's largest independently owned online magazine in Canada. And she's also the founder of YMCWorks.com, which specialized in integrated marketing programs for Canadian moms. And Dr. Chambers and Erica have been partners in this It Doesn't Have to Hurt initiative. So it's my pleasure to hand the virtual podium over to Dr. Chambers to start off this presentation to tell us a little bit more about what they've been doing. Over to you, Christine.
Great. Thanks so much for that really kind introduction, Doug, and the opportunity for Eric and I to come and chat today about the initiative. And our last webinar was really focused on social media as a communication tool in child health. And today we're going to kind of give you a bit of a behind the scenes behind this initiative that we're only a quarter of the way into, so the best is still going to be coming. But we thought this would be a really kind of good opportunity to talk about partnerships, and we'll be doing that by sharing information about what we're doing and our partnership. I'll start today by giving a little bit of background of sort of how we came to this, and then I'll be turning it over to Erica to talk a little bit about the initiative and some of the amazing content and the incredible reach and engagement work that they do on YMC, YummyMummyClub.ca. And then we're going to turn it back to me, and we'll have a bit of a discussion around the role of partnerships and how we could be more, kind of, I guess, creatively using partnerships to get child health information out to the people who need it. So Doug has already introduced us. I'm a professor, and I'll tell you a little bit more about some of my work and what has led to this in a minute, but I just wanted to give Erica a chance, if she's there, to say hi Erica?
Here. So hi everybody. Yes, my job is really to lead an amazing team of content creators and innovative moms to come up with amazing content that runs on YMC. And we also are really the bridge in many cases between brands and moms. And we have an amazing team of people who create these partnerships, one of which is with Christine's team.
Great. So we'll be hearing more about that and sort of how we approach this work. Just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to the fact that we are trying to multitask and send some tweets at the same time. So the hashtag, if you want to follow the tweets for today's webinar or look at them later, is up on the screen. It's CAFC Presents. And we will be taking questions both over the webinar platform but also from Twitter. So if it's easier for you to tweet your question, feel free, or you can pose it using the webinar software as well. All right, so we wanted to start with a little bit of a poll to see sort of what kind of experience or interest or background you have in using partners. So the poll question here, and Doug will facilitate this in a minute, is how many of you are using a partner in your work? And you can either answer A, what do you mean by partner? B, no, but I'd like to, I'm here to learn. C, yes, and it's worked very well. D, yes, but I would like to make it better. Or E, I have, and it didn't work out.
All right, so this is your chance to provide some input to this question. Just go up and make your selection by clicking on the screen. As Christine mentioned, the choices are, what do you mean by partner? No, but I'd like to, I'm here to learn. Yes, and it's worked very well. Yes, but I would like to make it better, and I have, but it didn't work out. And I don't like that last one, but we'll give everyone another couple seconds to put in a response.
Doug, they just were with wrong partners, so don't worry. We'll set everybody straight.
That's right.
We'll fix that in the next hour.
Yeah.
All right, we'll close that off and we'll share the results. And it looks like 33%, the most common response was yes, but I would like to make it better, followed by 30% saying no, but I'd like to, and I'm here to learn. 16% saying, what do you mean by partner? And 21% saying yes, it worked very well. Unfortunately, we didn't have anybody say that they did have a partnership, but it didn't work out. So.
Good, good. So it sounds like most people are either, have some partnerships that are here today to figure out, how to improve upon that, or are sort of maybe intrigued by the idea of a partnership, and hopefully will walk away today with some ideas about how partnerships can maybe enhance the work that you're doing. So I wanted to give a little bit of background on, how it is that I became or engaged in this partnership with YMC and with Erica. And as background, I've been a pain researcher, a health researcher for 20 years now. I've been doing studies in the area of children's pain. And the whole goal of why I got into this was to help kids and families. And certainly research is an incredibly rewarding, career and opportunity to contribute new knowledge and work that can benefit many, many children and families. And, how we in research share our research findings is typically in publications and journals. This is my first publication, published in a scientific journal, Pain, 20 years ago now. And certainly in the world that I live in science, I'm measured by the number of publications I have. That impacts the number of grants that I get. That is how, good science is measured. And certainly we want that research to translate into improvements in care and make sure that kids get better health care. The World Health Organization recently adopted some of the guideline work that I've been engaged in with the group led by Anna Taddeo at the University of Toronto and Hospital for Sick Kids. And this was a big deal for us that the WHO was interested in our work and willing to recommend some of our evidence at a global level. But the challenge is that even when you're able to translate your research into successful health policies and clinical practice guidelines, many children and families still don't get to benefit from that evidence. So, audits have shown that fewer than 5% of children undergoing vaccination actually get any kind of evidence-based pain care. And there have been many studies to show that, clinical practice guidelines are wonderful, they're important, they're necessary, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it translates into improvements in care. And certainly in the area of children's pain research, I'm based in the Center for Pediatric Pain Research here at the Health Center at the IWK. We really are part of a national capacity and strength in children's pain research. There was a report published a couple of years ago now that showed that Canada is a world leader in children's pain research, and that we are really the top #1 research specialization area in Canada, which is impressive. They did this sort of rank ordering of research areas, and the only other area to make the list that was in health was brain injury at number 10. So again, impressive research strength, lots of new knowledge, but again, this challenge of families not always getting access to the information. They don't read scientific journals. In fact, the public can't even really access, scientific publications if they don't have some sort of academic or university appointment. And even if they can't always understand what the take-home messages are. And so this leaves us with a problem, and studies have shown that it takes 17 years on average for research findings to translate into improvements in clinical care. And, this is one of the reviews that has shown that it can take so long. And not all health research findings ever find their way into improvements into practice. It's a leaky pipeline. And certainly I've become aware of this gap between evidence and practice, or between knowledge to action, in my own experiences as a mom. So this is a picture of my 4 kids taken almost 5 years ago. My twins are turning 5 in a few weeks. And there have been many opportunities with my kids over the years to engage with the healthcare system, hospitalization, surgeries, doctor's visits. And there have been times where I've had to advocate really strongly as a mom for my kids to get evidence-based pain care. And of course, I have the inside track on, evidence. My husband's an anesthesiologist, so when it comes to pain care, we know a lot, and we're comfortable advocating and making sure our kids get the pain care that we know the research evidence supports. But the reality is that not every child has a parent who has that knowledge base. And so this experience as a parent, building on my 20-year history as a scientist, led me to want to reach parents more directly with information about children's pain. And where do parents go for information these days? Well, they're on social media. Social media is a very quick and easy way for parents to access free information, right from their phone or from their iPad or from their desktop. And so it made me think, well, what can we do to reach parents over social media? There are studies now coming out that show that social media is a very common source of information for parents. It's where parents are going for parenting information, to receive support. It's where they're going to ask parenting questions. There was a survey published by Google a couple of months ago looking at what are parents searching for online, what kinds of information are parents searching for. And their survey showed that parenting searches related to health trump all others. So you can see whether they're pregnant, whether they have newborns or toddlers, parents are looking for health information, before anything else. And I'll show you just this funny little picture of a mug that went viral over social media before the holidays. It says, "Please do not confuse your Google search with my medical degree." And we health professionals sometimes really frown upon parents going online looking for information. Some health professionals will even tell parents not to. Don't go online. And the reason they do that is because there's a lot of misinformation out there. But the problem is parents are going to go online. You can't tell parents not to. It's what they're going to do. It's how we search for information these days. It's how you search for what car to buy and what vacation you're going to go on. It's just part of our culture now. And so rather than telling parents not to do it, I think we need to make sure that we make good quality health information available for parents there when they go looking. So I tried this on my own, a project funded by the Nova Scotia Health Research Foundation just about 3 years ago now, worked with a communication company to create a 2-minute YouTube video for parents about needle pain. And it was 2.5 minutes because that's how long people watch a video on YouTube for. It's very different from the sort of standard 45-minute boring video that we health professionals love to create. And the video has had great success. It's had nearly 200,000 views in the 2 years since it was first published. But I learned a very important lesson when trying to do this on my own, which is if you build it, they will not necessarily come. I put all of my budget and my time and energy into creating this YouTube video, and then all of a sudden realized that I did not have a strategy for disseminating it, that I'm a health researcher with a relatively limited reach. I fortunately am also a parent, so that enabled me to sort of reach some parenting circles, but it took a lot of effort. It was a full-time job just to try to make sure that my health evidence got into the hands of parents who need it. I was very active on Twitter because it was free and it was something I could do from my sofa at 9 o'clock at night. And these are some of the tweets that I had sent out and others had sent out around the video and trying to help support it. And I tried to target influencers, people like Andre Picard, who's the health reporter at the Globe and Mail, who has been very supportive of our work, parenting magazines, different media groups, universities, health centers. And I just want to flag for you this tweet, which I sent to Erica M., Yummy Mummy Club, trying to engage her interest in the video, and much to my shock and surprise, within a day she wrote me back, and you can see her said, thanks, I'm flagging my physician blogger, Kim Foster, who might be interested in writing, and you can see that Kim wrote back right away and said, great video, great topic, I'd love to write about it, can I embed the video in my post? So that was really very exciting for me, because at the end of the day, I'm a scientist, and that's what I'm trained to do. I'm trained to be a health researcher. Fortunately for me, I am also a mom of young children, so I'm also the audience that I'm trying to reach as well. But I'm not going to have young kids forever, and doing a lot of dissemination while I enjoy doing it isn't what I'm trained to do. I'm not trained in marketing or social media. It was fun to try it. I certainly still enjoy doing it. But it was very challenging for me to try to take this on while I was also still trying to contribute new scientific knowledge. And so a brief little audience poll here just to check in. What role do you think health professionals and researchers like me should have in health evidence dissemination? A, do you think we should do it all, the science and the practice and the dissemination, the communication of it? B, scientists and health professionals should stick with what they know best? Or C, I'm not sure, but there has to be an easier way.
All right, so we'll give everyone once again a chance to make their selection up on the screen. All right, yeah, so the most common answer, 63% saying, I'm not sure, but there has to be an easier way, followed by 29% saying they should do it all, and only 8% saying scientists and health professionals should stick to what they know best.
Right. So I think most people believe, yes, we have to make sure this science, this evidence gets to people, but as the majority acknowledge, there has to be a better or easier way to do it. And truly, where I started to realize the potential or the easier way for me was thinking about the tweet that I had sent to Erica and YMC, the amazing blog that Dr. Kim Foster wrote, and this is the blog that appeared less than a month after the initial sort of tweeting about the video. It was really engaging. It was written from a parent's perspective. It was, short to the point. It was very well done. It communicated the key messages, and we were able to track that we had a huge jump in the number of views that the video got. And so that really gave me the idea, and I reached out to Erica again when I saw a call from the Canadian Institutes of Health Research for a Knowledge to Action grant where you had to have a partner. And I reached out to her and said, hey, I have an idea for a partnership. Could we work together to get even more research evidence out to parents? You have the reach, but you also know how to make content interesting and engaging. Could we work together to reach the goal? Could it be an easier way to get this evidence out there? So just a little plug again that we're on Twitter, and now I'm going to turn it over to Erica to tell you a little bit more about YMC and also what we've been able to do together.
So, Christine, you are so amazing. I'm so thrilled to be working with you. I'm just trying to figure out how to put this, this is my first webinar, so I'm just trying to put this on properly and so everybody can see my screen. There we go. So, yes, Christine has chronicled our relationship so well, like a well-seasoned researcher. She documents everything while I live in the moment. And I will tell you right now that Christine's involvement with YMC has been sort of life-changing for me because I'm learning so much information that's science-related that I would never have been exposed to before, and I am your target audience. So this relationship started off on Twitter, which every good social media partnership should start with, and it's really, I think, making waves in both the research world and in the world of publishing and social media. A little background on YMC in general. Yes, I did start on MuchMusic many, many years ago, but sadly, I grew up and I launched an online, well, first I had a TV series called Yummy Mummy when I first had my kids and found it really difficult to adjust to motherhood. After a couple of years, we stopped the show and transitioned to an online magazine, which was I named YummyMummyClub.ca, and basically I was looking for other like-minded women who wanted to connect and talk about the realities of raising kids in the modern world, looking for really creative women who had something valuable to share, either as an expert, a professional in the field, for example, like Dr. Kim Foster, or women like Lisa Thornberry, who just is a passionate mother. Her child has some health challenges. She's also a beautiful writer and really funny. So I started to accumulate a team of writers, and we formed the basis of an amazing tapestry of Canadian voices. We even have some dads on there now, and we write about life seen through the prism of motherhood. So we write about all different kinds of topics, but they're always, as you know, life shifts when you become a parent, and everything in your life is interpreted differently. So the website is just really a great series of posts, storytelling, and this is sort of a snapshot of the website, what it looks like. It's grown over the years. Really, we have evolved from being simply a website to more of a platform where we not only have the website, but we also are out there on various social platforms, and we even have events in real life. And then we've expanded to become a business where we're publishing content wherever moms are. And again, it's still run by moms, for moms, owned by moms. It's pretty an amazing community. The basis of our business is that we know Canadian moms. We create really awesome content that speaks to moms. Not all of it is evidence-based research. A lot of it is just storytelling from the heart, telling it like it is. Our basis of our business and of the online business is to spark conversation. That the content they create is only the first part of the story, and the rest of the story is filled in by other parents sharing their points of view. We are not about pushing out information. We're about starting the conversation, and engagement, which has now become sort of a buzzword in the industry, is really what the basis of what our whole, platform is all about. We create this Activate word of mouth simply because we want to hear what other people have to say. We believe that there's more than two sides to every story, and every mom's experience and family's experience is different, and that's what helps all of us grow. And I think because of that, we're trusted by moms. Let me see what I have here. Next is the idea of spreading the message. So the business of YMC evolved into a company called YMC Works, which is essentially a content creation company, but it's also a content amplification company. So not only do we understand the message that you're trying to articulate to an audience, but we also know moms, and so we know what kind of messages will and won't resonate with moms. We did a great white paper last year asking moms what they will share in terms of brands and information that brands are constantly pushing out. We found out that like 78% of moms said that they have never engaged with a brand online. And that is kind of shocking when you think about the number of brands and companies who are trying to connect with moms. So there is a huge gap there. And so what we're trying to do is connect with moms in a meaningful way and share the information of brands, or in this case, research that would really connect with them and harness the power that YMC has created with our audience, but also with our team of content creators. This is a snapshot of our reach currently, and it's changing all the time. We're growing just with partnerships like the It Doesn't Have to Hurt partnership has been fantastic for YMC because once again we are seen as leaders in the field and creating new and innovative relationships and partnerships and content that is helpful and resonates with parents today. So a little bit about It Doesn't Have to Hurt, which of course has to have the hashtag in front of it, otherwise it just doesn't matter. YMC entered into this, what we consider to be a very innovative year-long partnership with the Center for Pediatric Research. Our job is knowledge translation. Dr. Christine Chambers has taught me an awful lot about this world that researchers are living in and people in the medical industry are living in, because that world is very different from the world of the consumers. Often the two paths don't cross. So there is so much amazing information out there that is sitting on dusty shelves or sitting on doctors' tables and dusty old pamphlets that moms aren't reading, that they're not actually even able to share, even if they do read that dusty pamphlet. And so what we're trying to do together is to help share the information that Christine's team has been creating over the years and get it directly into the inboxes of moms and dads across Canada so that they truly understand all this new information and can actually apply it in their daily lives. It's a 12-month program. It's launched in September. And what we've done is we've approached this much like we would approach any client of ours. So the It Doesn't Have to Hurt program, and Dr. Christine Chambers is our client. And we put together our strategy to disseminate all the information that she presented to us, to moms. And what we decided on is a series of blog posts. We are creating 4 videos for her. We're going to have some Twitter parties, which is an amazing way to have a public conversation about, in this case, pain as it relates to children. We're also putting together a series of Facebook polls, so we enhance the research side that Christine has been tasked with in this government grant that we've partnered on, and we've also created an ongoing series of social media images that really encapsulate, I guess you'd call it pages of research into one succinct image. Everything is posted on YMC, the website, and it's shared on our various social platforms. And we also have an extended reach, which is teaming up with influencers across the country who have shown a distinct interest and who have a lifestyle that really lends itself to sharing this content that is medical-based, research-based information about how to treat our children and prepare our children for pain and recognize pain in our kids. Look at this. I'm becoming I'm becoming an expert on pain just by doing all the work that I'm doing. Here's a visual snapshot of some of the blogs that we've created in partnership with Christine. The way it works is Christine shares with us the topics that she believes are most important to connect with moms. What's interesting, and I do want Christine to talk about this a little bit, is that she is basing these topics on research that or on information that she's accumulating using the YMC audience. And so, Christine, if you hold on to that, maybe when we show the slide about polls, you can talk a little bit more about how you came up with the ideas for these specific blog posts.
Yeah, sure.
And what we've done is she'll share with us the blog topics and give us key messages, because we're not doctors and we don't have that kind of information. And then we find the right people to write those posts based on our 50 in-house writers and then our extended team of YMC community, which it consists of some moms and dads and also a lot of experts in the field. So as you can see, this particular grouping of posts, which are from our first quarter, Christine wrote the first post herself, and I thought it made great sense since she is a mom. She understands YMC. She's so passionate about this. She's a great storyteller, and also she can put perspective and context to what this program is hoping to achieve. We also had Andrea Nair write a post about immunization pain, and Andrea is one of the top read writers on YMC. She, in fact, is a family therapist, and her husband is a doctor. So she writes some fantastic posts. And stomach aches, that post was written by Dr. Kim Foster, who is, as Christine mentioned before, a family physician. She also is a mom of two, and she has an amazing way of sharing medical-based research in a very casual way so that parents can understand and trust what she says. And what's really interesting is we left in, as you can see, the numbers beside each post. You can see the kind of sharing that's been going on. So the sharing, I think, is really important because, in fact, it gives it almost like a thumbs up. There's the Facebook like numbers, but also the sharing means this is information that is resonating with parents, and they believe that their friends can benefit from reading this information. To me, that is also a sign of approval. And that is, to me, parents saying, I believe this information is useful, and by sharing this, I feel like I'm doing a service to my friends. And again, the benefit of being online with this kind of thing is sharing extends the content and the story to new people. The next piece that we put together are videos. The first video that we did was Christine's directive to us was she wanted to talk about pain in babies. And to my great shock, I learned that researchers only recently understood that. And I think, is it researchers, Christine, that they just understood, or did researchers know this all along about babies' pain? I don't want to speak out of turn here.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, it's only been in the last 20 to 30 years where research and health professionals started to appreciate the problem of newborn pain. Yeah.
So this is a huge topic for new parents, for them to understand that, in fact, their babies in the NICU, newborn babies, do indeed feel pain, because before they were treating babies as if they weren't experiencing pain. This video, the idea of the video was to give them, parents, really easy, practical ways of dealing with pain in their babies, and also to give them the okay to really advocate for their babies and to step in if there is some sort of medical procedure that need to be done with their babies, that they should be dealing with the pain in advance and talking to the doctors about this. So we used Jack Horrigan to host this. Jack Horrigan is a TV host and has become a huge advocate on advocating for your baby. When her daughter Tess was born prematurely, and she had some really challenging procedures done to her, and Jack was fantastic. The video was very moving and has been shared abundantly, not just on where you can see here on our website, but also on our YouTube channel. So this video has really resonated. And what's interesting now is Jack has become an advocate for the It Doesn't Have to Hurt program and has become an ambassador, and she speaks in hospitals now all over the place, and she uses this video to extend the story. So this is becoming useful information for other health professionals to pass on to their clients or their patients. That's the idea, is when we create this content, we also hand it over to Christine to use in any way that she can to extend the information to parents. The other video that we just posted, this is actually part of our second quarter, but because we just posted it, we wanted to share it's already getting great traction. However, we did have a little hiccup. So Christine and I decided that, first of all, I want to say that Christine is an incredible partner in this, because she does understand the importance of storytelling and having a strong voice and speaking in a voice that resonates with parents. So she has completely taken sort of the doctor voice out of this, if you will, and has really trusted the mom-to-mom voice. And she also understands that there's different ways of telling a story. Jack Horrigan's story was very moving, and if you don't cry when you watch it, you're made of steel. This one, which is hosted by YMC's Lisa Thornbury, if you don't laugh, there's something wrong with you. So we took a very different approach to this one, and the idea of how a bikini wax helps a mom to reduce her daughter's pain is, a little interesting, intriguing. People might say, what the heck are you talking about? And that was the idea. Rather than just saying, how to reduce your child's pain getting needles, we thought, let's make this a little more intriguing and have some fun with it. And Christine was all over it, and I thank you for that, Christine. Again, the response has been so great. People are watching the video right to the end, which again is unusual in the social space because nobody has time for anything. But what was interesting is, in order to extend the reach of this video, on our YouTube channel, I tried to boost it using an ad, a Google AdWords ad, and they blocked it. I was shocked to say that, and kind of pleased in a way, that they deemed this video to be controversial. So, and so in good social media stead, I posted a blog on YMC letting everyone know that our video has been banned by YouTube, which in fact got a lot of people's attention, and more people were suddenly familiar with what we're trying to do with It Doesn't Have to Hurt. And I'm happy and sad to say that they lifted the ban, and we were able to promote the video after a few days. I'm not sure if it had anything to do with this huge outcry on social media, but we're happy that we had that little extra boost of social media controversy. But that's the idea, right, is by partnering with us, we get to play the actual real content game and create compelling content that is shareable. The other piece that we mentioned is social media images that, again, we partnered with Christine and her team. So Christine gives us literally 3 pages of medical-based research and says, could you turn that into 1 sentence, please, and make it pleasing to the eye? Yeah, no problem, Christine. Easy peasy. So here are some of the images that our team has come up with. And once again, I think that we were able to really distill some of the key messages that pain researchers are trying to share with parents. And it's that one line that could stick in their head, and when they get into a situation, hopefully that 1 sentence will be memorable to them, and that they will take action and advocate for their children. And Christine said to us which I was really surprised when we were having a little conversation, that these are in fact some of her favorite pieces of content that we've created with her. Why is that, Christine?
I think they're just so simple and just completely hit home the take-home message. And to me, it's also just incredible that, I mean, if you just look at breastfeeding and needles equals it doesn't have to hurt. It's so simple. The message is clear. And that one image is distilling hundreds of research studies, systematic reviews for the Cochrane collaboration, and just, hitting it down to what this means for parents in a very practical way.
I'm looking at that image and I'm thinking, damn, I wish someone didn't ban that image so we could have, because there's breasts in there, we could have gotten a whole other social media outcry. But anyway, that didn't happen. It was just shared organically, and again, a lot of people commenting and really digging the message and how we're sharing the message as well. We also are tasked, if you will, with this relationship being a research project in itself. So, Christine, do you want to share a little bit about that as well?
Sure. So there's a couple of different ways we're trying to kind of both continue to promote engagement, but also do some research on, we'll have great analytics about all the shares and the likes and number of views, but how is this actually impacting parents? And so through these Facebook polls, parents are asked questions about what they're doing for their children's pain, and we've had one running actually just over the last 24 hours about what parents do when their kids have needles. And also what this does is promote people to go check out the content and tell us what they think. So parents are commenting and we're learning from what the parents are saying or what they're asking about. And then of course there's a much larger research component of this where with Erica and YMC we pushed out an online survey back in September to parents before the initiative started. And to give you an idea of how effective this partnership has been just on the research side, we were hoping to get 300 parents to fill out the survey in the 2-week period that it was open, and YMC succeeded in getting over 2,000 parents to complete the survey, which was out of this world. And we also did phone interviews with over 200 families, and again, we've been hoping for only 30, and YMC got us the names and numbers of more than 500 parents who wanted to help us out with the phone interviews, and we literally ran out of time to interview them all before the first content went live. And so that's like the research side.
And Christine, I think what was so interesting about that for me was how excited these parents were to talk to you. They were like, you didn't have 5 people who were just ticking a box. You had 500 people who were really interested in this program and being involved in it.
Exactly, and I think what it was so cool was I really feel with this whole initiative that we're sort of getting rid of the boundary between health researchers and parents who need the information. It's sort of a really fluid process where, our quarter content is being impacted by what parents are asking about. And, it's not like Erica said, where she said, this isn't just a push out. We're not just pushing out and putting information out there. We're engaging in a conversation with parents. And that's thanks to YMC creating an opportunity for that to happen.
It's true, and you're learning a lot about what parents actually think versus what you think they think, and you're also learning about what they want to know, what they need to know, the kinds of issues that are top of mind. So what we're doing, what YMC is, it's really a bridge between your team and moms, and we are just so thrilled to be a part of it. So this is Q1 highlights so far, is that we are definitely creating awareness about how to manage children's pain. The conversation has been started, great engagement, and great reaction from moms. The first video was super well received, over 26,000 plays on YouTube and Facebook and the website together. The content on YMC has already had 17,000 plus page views in Q1. So those are people actually reading the content and engaging with it. People are sharing the content. There's over 5,000 shares. On Facebook, it's reached over 200,000 people alone. And overall, we've generated 6 million impressions in the first phase of the program, and that's only a quarter way through. But to me, it's not just that there are numbers of impressions, because in a way that's old-fashioned. What I love is that it's real, true, valuable engagement. And I must say, from the other perspective, understanding what Christine does for a living and what she's been tasked to do, I must say that I am shocked that researchers have been tasked with not just researching, but in disseminating the information using social media. How would a researcher understand what I've learned over the last 10 years being online, living online for a decade? There is absolutely no way that researchers should be put in that position where you suddenly have to be experts in creating an audience, in learning how to create content, and learning how to connect the two, and developing a community online just does not make sense. So that poll, Christine, that you created before, I think is a really valid one. And my suggestion to people who are on this right now is to find people who are already doing this and partner with them. YMC is a great fit for Christine because her audience is pediatrics, so we have parents. If there's another group of people who want to connect with women, again, we would be a good place to go, or dads, if you will. But if you're looking for geriatric, we wouldn't be the right people to work with. But there are people out there, like Zoomer Magazine, for example, has a huge community of an older Canadian demographic. So we'd be happy to advise and strategize on how to create those kinds of programs. But really, you need to think in a different way. I think researchers should stay as researchers. I think it's amazing that Christine has had the foresight, but we're taking up Christine's time, and she's learning an awful lot about social media that she'll be able to apply to her other programs. But truly, she could never have invested the amount of time that YMC has invested on her behalf. So I think the success in this is that we have two very passionate partners who understand our roles in this particular job, where it is Christine's role to provide us with medical, evidence-based information. She is also tasked with vetting all the content that we create. She also has been tasked to be cool. So she really needs to understand that we know how to talk to moms. And she has to step back and let us do what we do and trust that she has the right partner. And we, in turn, have to trust that she has the right research. And together, we are making a huge impact for Christine and for moms in spreading research-based information to parents who can now implement it in their day-to-day lives. I'm done.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Erica. That was amazing. We're going to flip back to me for some more slides. So Erica's done an amazing job at describing how YMC works, and she's always singing my praises, so I want to sing her praises for a few minutes, because this, I mean, the whole partnership and collaboration has really been so much fun. She has been so responsive, and I mean, it's clear from, I mean, I sent tweets to gazillions of people, and she wrote me back, and she was willing to engage in a conversation, and I think that's a real credit to her to have kind of an open mind. She could have easily said, oh, who's this health researcher? I can, you know, what would be in it for us? But she was very open, and I think kudos to YMC too. I mean, they're really at the cutting edge on online publishing, digital media. They just won 4 major awards at the recent Canadian Online Publishers Awards. And it's true, I can't, you know, keep pace with, you know, new trends in social media, you know, digital strategies. That's what's so great about having a partner who can do this. I mean, we're filming a video with Jack in October, and she's showing me Periscope and how it works. And, you know, I could never keep up with the trends and sort of best practices. So it's been really great that way. So I think Erica's done a nice job at summing up sort of how this works behind the scenes. And people ask me, you know, where do the ideas for the different content come from? And this diagram kind of shows you the extended partnerships that we have. So obviously the most critical and sort of key partnership is between myself and the research team and Erica and her YummyMummyClub.ca forum. But we also have a panel of parents. These are our moms, grandparents who have children who have had different pain issues. Some are healthy children who have just had sort of typical pains. Others have, you know, more significant medical issues and medical conditions. So we actually go to them and ask for what do they want to hear about, what would make a good video, what would they like to hear about, and so that content helps us shape the campaign. We also are using all the feedback we're getting from parents online, as well as all the responses we had to our survey and telephone interview as well. And then, of course, we are really sort of extending the reach of It Doesn't Have to Hurt with a couple of other critical partnerships. One is obviously with CAFC. They've been, you know, incredible supporters of this work and this idea from day one, you know, and it's really wonderful that they are so open to new ideas, and some of what we're doing with Erica is a little bit edgy, and they you know, have been on board. Also, the Canadian Pain Coalition has actively supported this work and helped in dissemination, and I can't say enough positive things about the Nova Scotia Health Research Foundation, who provided the initial funding for my first video, and then when I approached them with this idea, they said, you know, go for it. What do you need to help make this happen? So it's really a total team effort. But I'll tell you, it's easy from my end. All I have to do is, and I'm supposed to only have one page summary for each topic, but of course, as Erica mentioned, it turns into like 3 because I'm a researcher and I don't know how to say things, you know, simply and easily. But, you know, I just type up a summary of what the research evidence says on this particular topic that parents want to hear about, and then it's really quite exciting. I email it in, and it magically gets turned into this incredible content. YMC comes up with the content calendar. They know sort of how to time things and when to send them out. Everything gets sent to us for approval before it goes out, and I always send it to both the research team and the parent panel, and you know, we make sure that the evidence accuracy is correct, and we have really tried to leave, you know, all the creative control up to Erica. I mean, I totally trust them and really value their expertise at YMC, and I'll tell you, there have been, like, most of the time, no edits at all, like sometimes just a little word change to make sure that it's in keeping with the evidence, but it's been really quite magical to see what's been created. And I should mention, we've also, grant dollars are very tight these days, engaged an extended network of partners too. Web design company Norex, who gave us a free website to sort of promote It Doesn't Have to Hurt in the beginning stages. Egg Studios did a video for us that we were very happy recently won an award in the Canadian Institutes of Health Research contest, and it was just a summary of, you know, how this project came about, and also other companies and other local supporters as well. So, you know, we have partnership upon partnership upon partnership here, which has really been great. So what we wanted to do in this sort of last phase of the webinar was to talk about sort of three topics. One was, you know, the value of partnerships, and we've already talked a lot about this already, but we'd certainly welcome questions on this particular topic. And I'll share briefly too sort of what the value has been for me and Erica as well. Next is sort of how do you approach these partnerships? So people ask me a lot about, like, how did this happen? So we can talk a little bit about that. And then also, you know, sort of what makes a good partnership, and you know, what, many of you are here because you want to learn how to improve your partnership, so what makes things good. So for the value of the partnership, I mean, I think from my end, it's probably pretty evident. My goal was that I wanted to reach parents with evidence on children's pain, and this partnership has enabled me to reach, you know, many, many more people than I ever could have dreamed of. And I mean, we've only just started. We're only a quarter of the way through. The value for me is that it's made it easier to do. It's still a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but I've put less work into this sort of partnership dissemination than I did for my original video, and this is, dozens of pieces of content. So it's just much more efficient. And the value for me is it's been so fun. I love learning about new things, learning about things outside of my area. And Erica has been an incredible mentor to me in thinking about how to reach moms. And I've also really felt supported in my role as a health researcher, because that is what I do and ultimately what I want to continue to do. But through this partnership, I can reach more people. So now, Erica, if you want to comment on sort of the value of the partnership from your end.
Well, I've learned as a parent, the value has been huge for our team being involved in this. We are getting inside information about how to care for our kids personally. So on that level, it's been an amazing, great fit. It also has opened up my eyes to a whole new kind of funding available, that the government understands the importance of disseminating information. And I had no idea that there was so much research out there that never gets to the people who need it most, that is stuck in that 17-year gap. So for me, as I would say, like a social media agency, I think this is a great opportunity for us to partner with other like-minded medical-based or social-based groups who can access that kind of funding, and we would partner together. So I think that there's so much opportunity out there for all different types of partnerships. Both parties need to be willing to understand the other person's business model or the other person's agenda, the other person's voice. So for example, I understand in this case that it's Christine's team who has the information. I cannot change what she gives me in terms of the hard facts. I need to be very respectful of her agenda. At the same time, she is equally respectful of the process that we have. She understands the strategy once we've explained it to her, and so she doesn't try and hold that part up. And she lets us push the edge on things more than the average person, because she understands there is value to it, because she's also able to see it from the eyes of being a mom herself. So I think that in terms of partnership, you need to find, it's like a marriage, you need to find the right fit. And you're going to have to talk to potentially a few frogs before you find your social media prince or princess, because it is challenging to find the right partner who knows how to tell your story and has the right audience or the right strategy to help you find that audience. That will also fit your budget, because, by the way, this isn't free, right? This is a business relationship. So there's a lot of pieces that need to fall into place, but as you can see from what Christine and I are doing, it can work, and it can work really well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great summary, and I think, well, actually, this kind of transitions to my next point, which is, and certainly you guys, if you have questions, kind of get typing them or tweeting them and we'll answer some. But, how do you establish partnerships? And, when I had the initial idea for this, I did reach out to, we have an industry liaison office here at the university at Dalhousie, and I know the person in that office, her name is Doris, and she was amazing. She came and met with me, and I just thought, I had this idea, and, would it be crazy of me to reach out to, Erica and ask her if she might be wanting to partner with me for this grant? And she really encouraged me, and she just dared me to think outside the box. And Erica is not someone that I would normally interact with in my day-to-day health professional academic world, but I just had this feeling that it would be the right place to go. So I think I really just needed someone to encourage me to do it, and I did. So I think don't be afraid would be one of the pieces of advice that I would have, and I was just very fortunate that Erica is sort of always open to new ideas, and that she responded and was willing to kind of listen to me. And I tried, when I met with her, the first time to talk about this, I tried to see, like, what would be in this for you? And I don't know if you remember this, Erica, but you shared two things with me, one of which was, you're in the business of content generation. And so, we could give you great content that, you could share, that it was making your job easier in some ways. And the other thing she shared with me was like, hey, if this is proven by research to work, and parents are learning about it from us, and they try it and it works, then that just really helps to increase our credibility too. So I think for me it was helpful to learn that this just wasn't going to be beneficial to me, that there could be some benefit there. And I don't know, Erica, your thoughts on how people should think about establishing partnerships like ours?
Well, I think you really hit the nail on the head. Is I get pitched people, want to work with YMC or want YMC to help them. We get that a lot. I mean, I'm sure that everybody does, but it's the ones where they make something valuable to both parties, where they understand that you're not just asking, you're giving in some way. So definitely, when you're approaching potential partners, to look at it from both sides of the equation, and to present something that in which you understand what you are bringing to the table and what they have on the table that you'd like. So you've got to lead the conversation, and Christine certainly did that with me. She really came fully armed, and I'm also up for anything. I'm independently owned. I'm the boss. There's no bureaucracy. So I was able to listen to her sort of through my prism of what I'm trying to achieve. And I thought, by working with Christine, for example, we would be, I would think, very leading edge in the space of social media. And that's intriguing to me. I also thought it would be a great opportunity to learn about how to present medical-based research, but brand it as something that becomes like a product or a service. And Christine's It Doesn't Have to Hurt Now is directly connected to pain research. People know about that now, and I thought it's a really interesting lesson for me to realize that we can actually do it. We do have the power to create new products in a way.
Yeah, I think that's what's been really cool is approaching this from more of a marketing world. I mean, how do different companies get their product ahead of others? And by branding something, which is essentially what we're doing here with YMC, it gives parents, because I think what parents struggle with is there's too much information online, and so they don't know how to weed through it to try to find the good stuff. And so with what we're doing with YMC, if parents know that it's part of It Doesn't Have to Hurt, they don't have to worry about whether to believe it or whether it's true. I mean, it's proven pain control for kids, and that's really out there. So it's been neat to see sort of how Erica's business model can be applied to essentially creating a new way of communicating health information. And so go ahead.
What I also thought was really key to what we do is you have all this medical-based research. What happens is, backstage, that you know about, is, for example, we would send an email to our team of content creators, and we would say, okay, we're doing this project with It Doesn't Have to Hurt, and this month we would like to tell a story about preventing pain in babies. And then we get pitches from our writers, all who have their own personal story of how their child may have experienced pain. Perhaps they were in the hospital, perhaps they were sick, etc., etc. We put all those pitches together and share them with Christine, who chooses the one that she feels best represents what she's trying to get across. But what's most important here is that you have real stories of real moms who either have or haven't used your pain research, but can incorporate that story and the information in there in such a almost delightful, entertaining, relevant way. That is what I think sets us apart, because you can get a doctor to write about pain control in immunization, for example, and they could be succinct and get to the point, and it could be really easy to read, but there is something a little more trustworthy and familiar about a mom who can share it from her perspective in her own voice. And I think that is the magic of what you and I are creating together. It's the two voices coming together in pieces of content.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm so glad you raised that because, everyone talks about the power of a story, and certainly we've seen over social media and online, people who don't have evidence-based information sharing their story in a way that is really detrimental. So we can think about what happened with autism and vaccination, and so aligning personal stories so that they integrate evidence, just the way Jack's video does about newborn pain or Lisa's video does about procedure pain, is so compelling. And studies have shown that parents these days rate the information that's shared over social media, stories essentially by other people, as just as credible as what they hear from their doctor. And so if that's what people are going to be, putting weight on, then infusing those stories with evidence, just makes a lot of sense. It just makes it much more authentic. And, so that when you're getting this content, you're learning about cutting edge research, but you're hearing about it in a personal story, how this worked, or as Eric said, didn't work. And how I wished I had known this, evidence before. So our last kind of discussion point about partnerships is what makes a good partner or a good partnership. And I think we've already kind of touched on so many aspects of this today, but certainly things that I was looking for, obviously, a reach to the audience that I wanted to reach, which YMC has, ability to make the content interesting and engaging. And I, as a parent, had followed YMC and always enjoyed the content. I snickered, at a funny post, or I would find support, in an image that was shared. So I knew that they knew how to do that. Also, importantly for me, the content is, freely available. Parents don't have to pay a subscription. Erica has a business model that enables content to be available online. So for me, that was very important. I don't think parents should have to pay for research evidence. The reality is we're all paying for it through our tax dollars for this health research to be conducted, that we should be able to have access to it. And I did know that Erica had, complete creative control over her company, that she would, if anyone would be able to be flexible, she would be able to do that. And so I think that really allowed her to, and I'm speaking for you now, I'll let you speak for yourself in a minute, but at least be open to doing something a little bit different. I think also, we come from two very different worlds, but I feel like Erica and I really connect on a professional level with the goal of, supporting parents and reaching families, and personally also connect on how this can be a fun process. And it's been really neat to kind of have our teams working together and producing this kind of great content. I don't know, Erica, your thoughts on what makes a good partnership?
Well, I think you really talked a lot about the specifics, but one thing that struck me, or that I think about, is when you're partnering with another company, because that's essentially what we may be suggesting here, is that you need to understand what the culture is of the company that you're signing up to work with. For example, Christine, you're right that, yes, in this case, it's my company, so the bureaucracy and the flexibility are key in this. You were right in that if there's an issue or if you need to get to the top quickly, it's easy because you just knock on my front door and you know where I am. But if you're going to partner with a larger company who may have some expertise in this, and there are several companies out there who you can work with, just make sure that you're comfortable with the kind of culture that you'd be signing up to work with, because they are taking your, well, in a way, like your baby. They're taking what you have worked so hard on, and it's their job to interpret it and then share it with an audience. So you just have to make sure that you're all on the same page and that you really enjoy the process of working with them as much as the kind of content or the kind of work that they create. So the actual experience of the company, working with the company, should be as important. It's like marriage, and pay attention to those feelings like they're not really listening to what I'm saying, or they totally get me. I think those two things are really important, because I think that we're kind of making art here. It's really art meets science, and you have to be comfortable with your partner if you're going to be creating something. You need to know if they're flexible and if they're really understanding what you're trying to achieve, and how much give will they have when they're speaking basically on your behalf. So I think that's a really important discussion to have internally with your team when you're looking for a partner.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, doing your research, knowing what's important, what your goals are, and going with your gut. Like, I just walked out of our first meeting, knowing that this felt like the right fit. And I think sometimes we don't always listen to our instincts on these types of things as well.
Christine, one of the things that we talked a lot about was, you and I, was that you were really comfortable with my, kooky way of, and it's not that kooky, but, seemingly kooky way of creating content. Although we're very structured internally, the content is often a little provocative. And again, when you're looking for a partner, that may not be your cup of tea. So you also need to find a partner that that you feel comfortable with representing you. So some other companies or research groups or medical practitioners may be uncomfortable with our playful voice and playful tone, and that's absolutely fine. But if you sign up with, for example, YMC, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're signing up for. But maybe Today's Parent, which is a little more traditional, maybe more what you're comfortable with. And it's a different type of engagement that they promise, etc. And that's fine. But I'm going to leave you with a wonderful piece of advice that my husband once told me. There's a seat for every toilet. And you have to find the right seat, because, what suits Christine and what works so magically with Christine and YMC may not be a fit for your group. And that's fine. You just have to find the one that does make the right fit.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought up that point about sort of the playful and fun nature of this. And, I really was looking for that. And I mean, when you guys pitched the story of, well, how about we use, Lisa's bikini wax experience to tell the story, I was like, let's go for it. And I think the reason I'm comfortable with this, and I think it's important for anyone to think about when considering partnerships, is the career stage that I'm at too. I think if I was just new and sort of trying to establish myself as a new health researcher or scientist or health professional, I think I probably would have been a lot more nervous about, taking the chances that we've been taking together. I think that because I've been around for a while, I have an established reputation and credibility as a scientist, it's given me some degrees of freedom to do some different things, and to feel, strong in my voice, but, not everybody would feel that way. And I mean, some of what we're doing, I mean, even social media in and of itself, people still roll their eyes a little bit about in the academic world, although it's certainly changing. And, YummyMummyClub.ca, some people might think that sounds, sort of light. But for me, I just knew that we needed to do something different, that this is a really powerful platform, and that together it would work really well. But I think, if I was newer, maybe I would be a bit more nervous. But I think these days, you've got to take chances.
Christine, I think also what you understand that a lot of people in marketing in general don't understand is that the content isn't about you, it's about your audience.
Yeah.
And this is a really big one, even for brands. When, for example, if we're going to help promote their chocolate bar, they think the whole product should be, the whole piece of content should be about their chocolate bar. It's like, no one cares about your chocolate bar. They care about how that chocolate bar is presented in relation to their own lives. Why does it matter to me? So you understand that inherently, Christine, which is why you are appreciating the content, because we are putting your information in a package that will resonate with moms in a way that they like to be spoken to. But again, not everyone is comfortable with that. It's a new concept. It's a completely different way of, if you want to call it, advertising. The advertising is no longer just about the product. It's about an integration of the product. And that's very difficult for traditional marketers to understand. So I can only imagine how challenging it would be for people who are researchers who have to hand this research over to people who are going to change the way it's presented. That's difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to hear from you that it's new from the marketing perspective, and it certainly is new from the science perspective. When we were working on this grant, we tried to see, is there any published evaluation of a scientist and media working together in this way? Scientists get interviewed by the media, and media reach out to scientists for stories, but where there's an actual partnership. And no one, to our knowledge, has done this before. So, as much as we're keen to continue with, it doesn't have to hurt, we're really interested in looking at ways that we can extend this to other health areas, we have so many more messages in children's health, as CAFC and many of you on the webinar are aware. Children's pain is an important issue, but it's the tip of the iceberg.
And moms want to hear it. You and I are seeing now that moms and dads are loving the content that we're creating, because they understand that it's the real deal, but they're being entertained at the same time, and it's being given to them from one of their own. So it is really resonating with our community in a way that we'd only hoped for.
Yeah, it's been really, really fun and rewarding. And when I go online and I can read Facebook posts that parents are making in response to the content, oh, I'm pregnant, I've never thought about using breastfeeding for my baby with needles, I'm going to give this a try. It just feels like, yay, one parent at a time, we're getting this evidence out there.
That's so interesting that you're saying that, because that is social media. That's the difference between social media and advertising. Advertising, traditional advertising, was pushing out your message to a mass audience. Social media is based on engagement at one person at a time. So that's hard. That's time-consuming. That's specific. That's slow and steady. Are you ready to take that on?
Yeah, it's a very different process and lots of moving parts at different ends. So I do have a final poll, but I think what we'll do is maybe open it up and see if there's any questions or comments. I did see one question come in on a tweet from a woman named Kathy. What is the role of the communications partner to drive this work? And I think at this point, I think it came in a little earlier, but clearly you can see the power here of the partnership of, we're just providing the basically bullet point facts, and Erica, as the communications partner, is deciding what parts of that to focus on, what would make a good blog, what would make a good social media image, coming up with all the scheduling and sort of the sort of masterminding of how that message is going to be communicated.
Well, Christine, I think what's really important, which we actually didn't discuss, is that this is not just about creating content. This is also about how to successfully amplify the content. Yeah. If you create awesome content, like you did with that original video for It Doesn't Have to Hurt, and no one sees it, does it really matter? So when you're looking for a partner, you're looking for a partner not just to create content, but one who understands the strategy of amplification and extending the story outside your regular circles so that more and more people can be exposed to the message. So certainly amplification is a huge part of the strategy behind what Christine and I are doing.
Doug, I don't know if you're seeing any questions at your end or whether you have any comments.
Yeah, we've got a few questions that have lined up in the queue, so why don't we get right into those? We had a two-part question that came in from Deanne, and she's asking about, I think specifically for Erica, is there a possibility for the Yummy Mummy Club to partner with a health facility in the U.S.? And the second part was, is there a group like the Yummy Mummy Club in the U.S., I think specifically where they can target parents in or a similar audience that the Yummy Mummy Club is focused on?
Well, we're an unusual company, so I don't know if there's anything exactly like this. There are certainly agencies in the U.S. Who can connect with influencers. But what is sort of unusual about what we do is we create all the content in-house, and we have the website that we can post the content on, but we also post content on other sort of influential websites around Canada as well. But we can certainly talk to you about what you're looking for and perhaps be able to help you. Certainly, I think if you would, you can email Erica at YummyMummyClub.ca or Christine, and we'll be able to share some of the information that we have on how we put together these kinds of programs.
That's one of the, well, of course, the obvious things with when you're doing this kind of dissemination on social media or reaching out through partnerships through social media or blogs, is it's obviously international right from the start. There's no borders when you start putting this information online. I mean, this webinar today, we've got people from the U.S., from the U.K., from the Netherlands, from Norway dialed into the live webinar, and then when we post the recording afterwards, it's obviously international right away. So it's difficult to say once you open up for these partnerships to say yes or no based on geographic borders. It doesn't seem to make sense at that point.
Well, it only does in this case, Christina, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, but because the Canadian government is actually paying for this initiative and this partnership, so we are focusing on Canada.
Yeah, but you're right, Doug. I mean, in theory, if there was, interest and, that there's no boundary to where the information goes.
The next question came in from Colleen, and she's asking if you can speak about the audience that was reached by this initiative, talking specifically about the ethnic makeup of the audience, socioeconomic status, the diversity of the socioeconomic demographics of the audience, etc. I think specifically from the audience of the Yummy Mummy Club partnership has allowed this evidence to reach out to.
So we haven't done the final breakdown. That's going to happen at the end of the year where we do all that kind of deep dive into our audience. But I can tell you that we reach moms of all across the country. We're heavier in Ontario. We sort of, our reach sort of reflects the general population of Canada. We have new moms, and we also have older moms. So we have moms from 25 to 45, or the core of YMC's audience, and we do have a breakdown of the socioeconomic background. I don't have that information at hand, but certainly if anybody ever needed that information, we could provide it for you. It's so easy. Thank you, Google. It gives it all to you.
All right. There were a couple questions that came in about the skill set of the researcher and how, sort of getting at the sense of how does the skill set of the researcher have to change in this sense. I think we can agree just based on this conversation that it's not about the researcher developing all these skills, but what skills do they need to develop in the ability to identify the proper partner or to build those partnerships? Or Christine, from a researcher perspective, I mean, how does that have to change as far as how the researcher develops those skills to identify those partnerships and to build those partnerships?
Yeah, I think it really, has to do with putting yourself as the researcher into the shoes of the knowledge user, right? I mean, the only reason I ever even got the idea to put evidence-based information on social media to begin with and then to reach out to a partner is because I all of a sudden became the knowledge user as well. I mean, I was the parent and I'm the parent sitting at my laptop or, on my iPhone on maternity leave, following YMC, or, who has subscriptions to parenting magazines, and have always wondered why, why isn't the health research here? Why are we keep creating websites, creating, health information and expecting parents to come to it? We need to put information where parents are. So I don't think it's really a different skill set other than just trying to put yourself into your knowledge user's shoes. And I also think you have to be able to, even if I was never to send a tweet again and leave all this sort of communication with YMC, you still as a health researcher need to know what your take-home messages are. So being able to really get to the point of what you're doing and what the impact is. I also think something I don't struggle with, but I think is important, is to know when is a health research evidence ready to mobilize. That's a whole other separate issue, but we're using the best evidence from systematic reviews and studies in the area to put into our fact sheets. But sometimes there's conflicting research, or sometimes there's only preliminary findings, and that's where Erica really trusts that we're not putting anything in our fact sheets that isn't true, that isn't well supported by research that we can defend. So I think the skill sets, in some ways it's not a different skill set, but it's just kind of thinking differently with the skills that you already have.
Mm-hmm. And maybe, Erica, from your perspective, that's an interesting point when you're talking, that's a very good point about this information, is that it is well supported, it is coming from systematic reviews, etc. It's not about a single researcher who has discovered what they consider to be something great and they feel they have the evidence to support it, and someone who's not a scientist, is not a scientist like Erica. How do you deal with someone approaching you from that perspective, saying, I have the credibility of a researcher from a credible university, but this is a one-off study that's not, it's not based on systematic reviews, it's not evidence at the level that Christine's talking about. It's being approached by someone who maybe tries to convince you that this is the latest and greatest, and maybe it hasn't achieved that level of evidence yet. How does someone like the Yummy Club deal with something like that?
This is a great question, and it also, we have had experience with something different than that. But for example, if a brand comes to want to work with us and we get that feeling like this brand is not being completely authentic in the way they're presenting their business or their service, or this might not sit well with our audience, we'll pass on that. So we don't take every opportunity that is presented to us. So with Christine, we could tell that based on all her credentials, and she's amazing, that that she would be an amazing partner for us. But we are very picky about who we'll work with, and that's an excellent question, and we certainly would research these people, and now we have Christine. So let's just say that some person came to us. I now have a team of people I respect who are in this field, which is really what it is. It's building a community in the fields that you're interested in, and ask Christine for her opinion and other of her peers. So we certainly wouldn't get into bed with anybody. We're picky.
It's kind of like when Christine was talking about her process of learning throughout this experience, and what reach and marketing and engagement and all that is about, and on the other side, the media people learning a little bit about what evidence is, what's a systematic review versus a research study or an observational study or something like that.
Oh, this is a whole new world for me, trust me. This is, but it's been fascinating. When Christine brought us into the university over the summer, and myself and my team and Andre Picard from Globe and Mail were invited to meet all of her her staff who are working on all different research projects, and they told us all the different programs that they're working on and research projects, and all of our jaws were just dropped, because we were seeing what she was doing in action, and the passion and the interest and the effect of her research on the various people that are doing the research. It was very exciting for us to see as well, the sort of backstage of researchers.
Yeah, it's been amazing for us. So, Doug, I see the time, and we've had a great discussion. If there's questions that we didn't get to, feel free to email me or to tweet at us, and we'll reply. And just want to thank everyone for joining us, and Erica as well for presenting alongside, and CAFC for hosting an opportunity to talk about something that I hope everyone will leave the webinar today feeling empowered and trying to think outside the box around who are partners that you could approach to try to advance your work to help children's health.
And also, I would tell Chris, if I can make a suggestion, is for everybody to get on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and use it and get familiar just with the language and the way it works, so that you can make an informed decision if you do actually want to proceed in this space.
All right. I did have one more question I wanted to put out to you, Christine, specifically about the person was asking about the use of children's hospital, the use in children's hospitals of the social media images that you created as part of this partnership. Where can people find them? Are they able to use them? What kind of permission or credit is needed for hospitals to use the images that you were sharing, the breastfeeding plus needles equals it doesn't have to hurt, etc. Is there permissions required? Are these sort of open access? Or
it's all publicly available. It's all branded with, it doesn't have to hurt's logo and YMC, and that's really the goal, is that they be available for sharing. The videos are on YouTube. Everything can be downloaded. So that's really our vision. Just like people are using the videos and presentations, we've had even CAFC's communities of practice reach out to us about how can we put these online? Like, yes. So please reach out to me if you want more information on that. But that's really where we are trying to go, is making content publicly available so that parents can share it, hospitals can share it, health professionals can share it.
Yeah, this is truly a partnership in the sense that when we create this content, I want other people to use it. I want Christine to be able to use it and reuse it and make it valuable.
All right. Well, as Christine mentioned, we are pretty much out of time. Is there any thought that you would like to leave us off with before we sign off? We'll start with Erica. Anything you want to close the audience off with?
I'm just really honored to have been part of this conversation. I think that Christine and her team are doing incredible research and also are so innovative. And I'm just pleased to be riding on her coattails, quite frankly. And I want to thank you, Doug, for inviting me to talk about this, because I do think that there's a great opportunity for people who are in the medical space to extend their story and connect with consumers and patients in a new way. So, and I'm happy to have that conversation with anybody who is interested in working with YMC, but I invite everybody to watch the hashtag in the social space, it doesn't have to hurt, and watch parents' reaction, because that's really the defining moment, really.
All right, well, thank you. And Christine, any final words from you?
No, I mean, I feel it's so funny when Erica says that. I feel like I'm riding on her coattails, because, this is just an opportunity to integrate, messages about an important health topic into conversations that parents are already having on her forums. So, I think that's really evidence of a great partnership, and both people feel like we're just, doing very little in some ways, but together synergistically creating something that we hope is really going to benefit parents. So like Erica said, please follow along. We've got tons of great content coming out in February, and we're really looking forward to reporting back to the community once the project's over, to talk about how this worked, and hopefully showing evidence of change.
All right. Well, thank you to both of you. It was a great presentation here. Lots of engagement on Twitter, as we saw. Lots of comments. You can go back and check out there. To close off, I'll just say that we do our webinars every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and it is always great when you can watch live, as these questions and comments have really enriched the discussion. But of course, when you can't watch live, we do record these sessions and make them available after the fact on the Canon. And just like Christine's information, these are all open and access for anyone to share and view and pass them around to your colleagues and everything. I'm sure there's lots of other people who would enjoy seeing this presentation. Next week on February 3rd, we'll be starting a series of webinars from another great partnership that CAFC has. This one's with the Canadian Institute of Health Research, Institute of Human Development in Child and Youth Health, and their program of research chairs in applied health services and policy research in reproductive and child and youth health. And that program has funded 6 research chairs from across a wide range of topics in children's health. And the first of that series will focus on child injury and injury prevention. We'll be hearing from Dr. Alison McPherson of York University and Dr. Linda Rotman from Sick Kids in Toronto, and who have looked at the relationship between the numbers of children walking to school and child pedestrian motor vehicle collisions, focusing on how different features of the built environment can influence this relationship from the perspective of injury and health and well-being of children. And then following that on February 10th, we'll be hearing from a great panel of researchers, health practitioners, and parents, featuring Dr. Peter Rosenbaum, Dr. Jan Willem Gorder from CanChild, Maria Sassini, Julie Brocklehurst, and Andrea Cross to talk about the F words in childhood disability. I swear this is how we should think. Many of you may be familiar with that publication that was it was published 3.5 years ago, and was an effort to change fundamentally how we think about children with disabilities using the F words. And I'll let you come to that presentation to hear what those F words are if you're not familiar with them already. And it's really going to be an update of 3.5 years later. What is that group doing based on that really provocative and sort of groundbreaking paper that was written? So some great stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Thanks again for joining us today, and we hope to see you back here next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.